Ladies and gentlemen, the Alabama Senate will now come to order. Our prayer today will be delivered by Pastor Jerry Lawson of Daystar Church in Coleman, Alabama. Pastor Lawson is the guest of Senator Gudger. Pastor Lawson.
Thank you. Before I pray, just want to tell you that we don't just pray for you when we come down here and get on a microphone, but, you know, committed Christians are called by God to pray for our leaders, and we are praying for you every day. We really trust and believe that God's got his hand on you, so it's my honor to pray for you today. Heavenly Father, we thank you for this day that you have made, and as I come here today to the Alabama State House, I think of that promise, that word that said, that unless the Lord builds the house, its laborers work in vain. And so I pray today for the laborers of this house, of this state, that they would be guided by you, that they would be guarded by you, that you would give them great wisdom, Lord, to make decisions, not based on popularity, but based on the counsel of your word and of their conscience that you've given them. I pray that you build this house for the good of the people of this state. And I think about another house, the house that these men and women go home to tonight or at the end of session. I pray for you to build their house. They have wives or husbands, and they have children who didn't sign up to run for office and didn't ask for the scrutiny. They didn't ask for the bullying that comes from this, and they didn't ask for the lies and ridicule. And I pray for you to bless them in their home, that you would protect them, guard their hearts against any evil or any ill will toward them, guard them physically, Lord. Build that house for every one of these senators. And God, build the houses of the constituents of this state. Lord, bless moms and dads and children and single parents, and bless all those people who don't have a home. They're battling and struggling with addiction, or they're struggling with homelessness. God, I just pray that the men and women who make decisions here today would be guided by you to love and care for every member of this state. And we praise you and believe that your hand is on us today. In the name of Jesus Christ, we pray. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Pastor Lawson. Today, the pledge will be led by Senate Page Rebecca Parker. Rebecca is paging for Senator Gudger.
Attention, salute, pledge. Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Secretary, call the roll.
Mr. Albritton, Mr. Allen, Mr. Barfoot, Mr. Beasley, Mr. Bell, Mr. Butler, Mr. Carnley, Mr. Chambliss, Mr. Chasteen, Ms. Coleman, Ms. Coleman Madison, Mr. Elliott, Ms. Figures, Mr. Gavan, Mr. Gudger, Mr. Hatcher, Mr. Hovey, Mr. Jones, Mr. Kelly, Mr. Livingston, Mr. Melson, Mr. Orr, Mr. Price, Mr. Reed, Mr. Roberts, Mr. Schofield, Mr. Sessions, Mr. Shelnut, Mr. Singleton, Mr. Smitherman, Mr. Stewart, Mr. Stutz, Mr. Wagner, Ms. Weaver, Mr. Williams,
Ladies and gentlemen, we have 28 senators present, which is a quorum. The Senate is ready to transact business.
Mr. President,
Senator Wagner.
move that we excuse absent senators.
All right, any objection? Hearing none, so ordered.
Mr. President,
Senator Wagner.
move that we dispense with the reading of the journal from the previous legislative day and that we adopt the journal.
All right, any objection? Hearing none, so ordered. Now move on to introduction of bills. Senator Jones.
Mr. President, move that we allow for the introduction of bills at any point throughout the day.
All right, any objection? Hearing none, so ordered. Thanks, Senator Jones. All right, now move on to House messages. Secretary, call the first House message. We might come back to that later. Right now, committee reports. All right, I'll move on to committee reports. Secretary, call the first committee.
From the Committee on Confirmations, Senate Confirmation number 56, appointing Derek Swanson to the Alabama Firefighters Personnel Standards and Education Commission, receives a favorable report by both 15 ayes and 0 nays.
Mr. President.
Senator Livingston.
Mr. President, I move the Senate confirm Derek Swanson to the Firefighters Personnel Standards and Education Commission. We don't have a previous role, so using the long roll.
All right, Secretary, call the long roll.
Yep.
Mr. Albritton. Mr. Allen. Mr. Barfoot. Mr. Beasley. Mr. Bell. Mr. Butler. Mr. Carnley. Mr. Chambliss. Mr. Chasteen. Ms. Coleman. Ms. Coleman Madison. Mr. Elliott. Ms. Figures. Mr. Gavan. Mr. Gudger. Mr. Hatcher. Mr. Hovey. Mr. Jones. Mr. Kelly. Mr. Livingston.
Aye.
Mr. Melson. Mr. Orr. Mr. Price. Mr. Reed. Mr. Roberts. Mr. Schofield. Mr. Sessions. Mr. Shelnut. Mr. Singleton. Mr. Smitherman. Mr. Stewart. Mr. Stutz. Mr. Wagner. Ms. Weaver. Mr. Williams.
27 ayes, 0 nays. Derek Swanson's confirmed. I'd like to recognize some special guests in the gallery, the guest of Senator Stewart. When I call your name, if you could please stand. The Freedom Quilting Bee Legacy of Alberta, Alabama, and the G's Ben Quilters of Boykin, Alabama. If y'all could please stand. Welcome to the Alabama Senate. All right, Secretary, call the next committee.
From the Committee on Confirmations, Senate Confirmation Number 68, appointing Michael Kentz to the Alabama State Board of Public Accountancy, receives a favorable report by a vote of 15 ayes and 0 nays.
Mr. President, I move the Senate confirm Michael Kentz to the State Board of Public Accountancy using previous role. No objection.
All right, any objection? Hearing none, so ordered.
Mr. Albritton, Mr. Williams,
27 ayes, 0 nays. Michael Kentz is confirmed. Secretary, call next confirmation.
From the Committee on Confirmations, Senate Confirmation Number 69, appointing Connie Shepard Harris to the Alabama State Board of Public Accountancy, receives a favorable report by a vote of 15 ayes and 0 nays.
Mr. President, I move the Senate confirm Ms. Harris to the State Board of Accountancy using previous role. If no objection.
All right, any objection? Hearing none, so ordered.
Mr. Albritton, Mr. Williams,
27 ayes, 0 nays. Connie Shepard Harris is confirmed. Secretary, call next confirmation.
From the Committee on Confirmation, Senate Confirmation Number 70, appointing Todd Etheridge to the Alabama State Board of Public Accountancy, receives a favorable report by a vote of 15 ayes and 0 nays.
Mr. President,
Senator Livingston.
President, I move that Senate confirm Todd Etheridge to the Public Accountancy Board using previous role. No objection.
All right, any objection? Hearing none, so ordered.
Mr. Albritton, Mr. Williams,
27 ayes, 0 nays. Todd Etheridge is confirmed. Secretary, call next confirmation.
From the Committee on Confirmation, Senate Confirmation Number 71, appointing Alan Skinner to the Alabama State Board of Public Accountancy, receives a favorable report by a vote of 15 ayes and 0 nays.
Mr. President,
Senator Livingston.
President, I move the Senate confirm Alan Skinner to the Public Accountancy State Board using previous role. No objection.
All right, any objection? Hearing none, so ordered.
Mr. Albritton, Mr. Williams,
27 ayes, 0 nays. Alan Skinner is confirmed. Secretary, call next confirmation.
From the Committee on Confirmation, Senate Confirmation Number 64, appointing Anita Bruick to the University of Montevallo Board of Trustees, receives a favorable report by a vote of 15 ayes and 0 nays.
Mr. President,
Senator Livingston.
President, I move the Senate confirm Anita Bruick to the Montevallo Board of Trustees using previous role. No objection.
All right, any objection? Hearing none, so ordered.
Mr. Albritton, Mr. Williams,
27 ayes, 0 nays. Anita Bruick is confirmed. Secretary, call next confirmation.
From the Committee on Confirmation, Senate Confirmation Number 66, appointing Timothy Lupinacci to the University of Montevallo Board of Trustees, receives a favorable report by a vote of 15 ayes and 0 nays.
Senator Livingston.
Mr. President, I move the Senate confirm Mr. Lupinacci to the Montevallo Board of Trustees using previous role. No objection.
Any objection? Hearing none, so ordered.
Mr. Albritton, Mr. Williams,
28 ayes, 0 nays. Timothy Lupinacci is confirmed. Secretary, call the next confirmation.
From the Committee on Confirmation, Senate Confirmation Number 67, appointing Brian Hamilton to the University of Montevallo Board of Trustees, receives a favorable report by a vote of 15 ayes and 0 nays.
Mr. President,
Senator Livingston.
Mr. President, I move the Senate confirm Brian Hamilton to the Montevallo Board of Trustees using previous role without objection.
All right, any objection? Hearing none, so ordered.
Mr. Albritton, Mr. Williams,
29 ayes, 0 nays. Brian Hamilton's confirmed. Secretary, call the next confirmation.
From the Committee on Confirmation, Senate Confirmation Number 73, appointing Cynthia Todd to the University of Montevallo Board of Trustees, receives a favorable report by a vote of 15 ayes and 0 nays.
Mr. President,
Senator Livingston.
Mr. President, I move the Senate confirm Cynthia Todd to the Montevallo Board of Trustees using previous role. No objection.
All right, any objection? Hearing none, so ordered.
Mr. Albritton, Mr. Williams,
29 ayes, 0 nays. Cynthia Todd's confirmed. Secretary, call next confirmation.
From the Committee on Confirmation, Senate Confirmation Number 65, appointing Matt Friday to the University of Montevallo Board of Trustees, receives a favorable report by a vote of 15 ayes and 0 nays.
Mr. President,
Senator Livingston.
Mr. President, I move the Senate confirm Judge Matt Friday to the Montevallo Board of Trustees using previous role. No objection.
All right, any objection? Hearing none, so ordered.
Mr. Albritton, Mr. Williams.
29 ayes, 0 nays. Judge Matt Friday's confirmed.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Hey, thanks, Senator Livingston. All right, this concludes confirmations. All right, Secretary, call the next committee.
From the Committee on County and Municipal Government, Senate Bill number 228 receives a favorable report with one amendment by a vote of 8 ayes and 0 nays.
This bill has received a second reading and be placed on the calendar for next legislative day. Secretary, no, this concludes committee reports. Now move on to motions and resolutions. Senator Reed.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, I have a resolution that is commemorating some great friends of the Alabama Senate, and I think you're going to recognize them in a moment, but I'd like unanimous consent to consider that. Maybe we don't have to have unanimous consent.
All right, any objection? Hearing none, so ordered. All right, Secretary Reed, receive the resolution.
Senate Joint Resolution number 46 by Senator Reed commemorating the 77th Southern Legislative Conference of the Council of State Governments Southern Office.
Senator Reed.
Mr. President, I think we've got some folks that I want you to recognize.
Sure. Yeah, I got some special guests in the gallery. When I call your name, if you could please stand. Yes. All right. Lindsey Gray, Eric Harrison, Nick Bowman, and Angel Talsma. So welcome to Alabama Senate. All right, Senator Reed.
Thank you, Mr. President. These are some great friends. Leadership of SLC, CSG, we appreciate them being here. But with the resolution for their organization, I'd like unanimous consent to consider it right now.
All right. Any objection? Hearing none, so ordered. All those in favor say aye. Any opposed? Resolution is adopted. Thanks, Senator Reed.
Mr. President, I have another very, very important resolution.
All right, Secretary Reed, receive the resolution.
Mr. President, I'd like for the resolution to be read at length.
All right, Secretary, read the resolution.
Senate Joint Resolution number 47 by Senator Reed commending Senator J.T. Jabbo Wagner on the historic occasion of his 50th year of service to the citizens and the legislature of the state of Alabama. Whereas highest commendations and congratulations are proudly presented to Senator J.T. Jabbo Wagner with sincere gratitude on the occasion of his historic 50th year of service to the legislature of the state of Alabama. And whereas Senator Wagner is a Birmingham native and a graduate of Inslee High School, he attended Auburn University and was a walk-on to the basketball team. 2 years later, he was awarded a basketball scholarship to Birmingham Southern College, transferred, and earned a bachelor's degree. And he earned his Juris Doctor from the Birmingham School of Law. And whereas at the age of 29, Senator Wagner won a seat in the Alabama House of Representatives and served from 1966 until 1983. He was Alabama's 6th congressional district nominee in 1984. He served as the governor's legislative liaison from 1988 until 1990 when he ran for an Alabama Senate seat and won. He has served in the Senate for 9 consecutive terms since then. His combined experience in both houses of the Alabama legislature makes him its longest serving member. And whereas during his legislative career, Senator Wagner has served as the Senate Minority Leader from 2002 through 2010 and as Senate Majority Leader from 2010 through 2014. Senator Wagner currently serves on the following Senate committees: Rules as chair, Confirmations as vice chair, Jefferson County Local Legislation as chair. Senator Wagner serves on other committees such as Banking and Insurance, Finance and Taxation Education, Finance, and the Joint Transportation Committee. And whereas Senator Wagner is the recipient of numerous awards and countless accolades, including the Ronald Reagan Lifetime Achievement Award in 2012, the Alabama State Council of the Arts Legacy Award in 2013, the Birmingham Southern College Distinguished Alumni Award in 2013, and the Alabama Sports Hall of Fame Distinguished Alumni Sportsman Award in 2019, the University of Alabama at Birmingham's President's Medal in 2021, and the National Grocers Association 2021 Spirit of America Award. And whereas Senator Wagner generously gives of his experience, time, and talent to serve on service club boards and committees, including Executive Committee of Birmingham Business Alliance, Faulkner University Board of Trustees, Greater Birmingham Convention and Visitors Bureau, he holds memberships on the Chambers of Commerce for Hoover, Homewood, Shelby County, and Vestavia Hills. He is a 50-year member of Civitan International and an active member of Masons and Shriners organizations. He is a founding member and past president of the Birmingham Tip-Off Club. And whereas Senator Wagner and his beloved wife, Maryland, are the parents of 4 children, they have 7 grandchildren and 2 great-grandchildren, and they are longstanding members of the Homewood Church of Christ. Now, therefore, be it resolved by the legislature of Alabama, both houses thereof concurring, that the citizens of Alabama have shown their affection, gratitude, and enduring support of J.T. Jabbo Wagner, and the legislature is honored to count him among its members and are grateful for a remarkable career characterized by service, statesmanship, strength, and steadfastness. We offer this resolution as evidence of our esteem and deep appreciation for him and in recognition of his unwavering selflessness and passion serving the people of Alabama and ensuring a better Alabama that is second to none in education and job creation, and his stalwart, resolute leadership has been consistently demonstrated over the 50 years that he has served the people of Alabama as a legislator.
Mr. President,
Senator Reed.
we've heard the distinguished resolution for one of our own, who, when I was in the first grade, he started serving the people of the state of Alabama.
Senator Reed.
Mr. President, I would like immediate consideration asking that all members be added as co-sponsors
All right.
of this resolution.
Any objection? Hearing none, so ordered. And then move for adoption.
Move for adoption.
All right. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Resolution is adopted.
Applause.
All right.
Thank you, Senator. I appreciate you and y'all so much. And y'all expect me to say something? Wow. This is getting too much, this resolution and then the party tomorrow night, but there's a reason I stayed here, okay? When you love the people you work with, you feel like you're in a position to accomplish some things for the people of the state of Alabama. Last year was my 49th year. I've never been a quitter. Why quit at 49 if you do it? Just do it one more year and you round the magic number of 50. So I love the guys and ladies in this room, and I've made so many precious memories over the year, the people I've met, the people I've worked with, the honors I've received, and I'm so excited about tomorrow night. Some of my family will be able to come down, I think, but Mr. Pro Tem, I met you probably 25 years ago. I was at a Republican meeting in Jasper, Alabama, and I think I met you that night, and you made a speech, and afterwards I said, why don't you run for the Senate someday? And he said, just give me a few more years and it's something I'll think about. And look where you are today. And that was probably a 20, 25-year-old conversation, correct? And boy, has he made a difference, and what a dear friend we have become. The only time we've disagreed, I have a place up on beautiful Smith Lake, And I asked Mr. Pro Tem about a year ago, I said, could we run a line from Vestavia up Carter X down, 69, towards Smith Lake and
Redistricting's what you're talking about.
redistricting, that's right. And for some reason, he'll be refused, but I understood, and it was really a kind of a standing joke. But thank you all so much. I'm so honored. Yes, it's been 50 years. I ran for the first time in 1967. I've seen so many changes, the makeup of the House body and the Senate body, but I don't know of any other way I could have spent my life than doing what I'm doing with the guys and girls in this building. Thank y'all.
Thank you, Senator. Thank you, Mr. President. We're going to have a good day today.
Yes, sir. Thank you. All right, Senator Allen.
Yes, sir. Mr. President, got an SJR.
All right, Secretary, read and receive the SJR, please.
Senate Joint Resolution number 48 by Senator Allen, mourning the death of Mr. Guy Edward Moman, Jr.
Mr. President,
Senator Allen.
I would like to ask the entire Senate body to be added to this resolution.
All right, any objection? Hearing none, so ordered. All right, Senator Allen.
Yes, sir. I'll move immediate adoption.
All right. Yep. All right, any objection? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Resolution's adopted.
SJR.
All right, Secretary, read and receive the SJR.
Senate Joint Resolution number 49 by Senator Allen, commending Mr. Paul Housel for professional achievements.
Mr. President,
Senator Allen.
many of my colleagues in this chamber have known Paul, and he has served as a district director for Congressman Robert Adderhope. At this time, I would like to ask all members be added. I will move to all members be added.
All right, any objection? Hearing none, so ordered.
All right, Mr. President, I would like to adopt this immediately.
All right, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Resolution is adopted. Thank you, Senator Allen. All right, any other motions or resolutions? Senator Kelly? All right, Secretary, read and receive the resolution.
Senate Joint Resolution number 50 by Senator Kelly, commending the Birmingham Association of Realtors for the successful Fair Housing Month 55th Anniversary Proclamation Tour.
All right, Senator Kelly.
Motion to adopt.
All right, all those in favor say aye. Any opposed? All right,
Thank you, Mr. President.
thanks, Senator Kelly. All right, any other motions or resolutions? All right, Senator,
Mr. President, I move that we receive committee reports throughout the legislative day.
all right, any objection? Hearing none, so ordered. All right, Senator Albritton.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'd like to, last Friday, I had a bill that was carried over to the call of the chair. I'd like to call it up and deal with it at this point. It is SB 192.
All right, Secretary, call up SB 192, please.
Status at FBR. On page 12 of the calendar, Senate Bill number 192 by Senator Albritton relating to access roads.
I think we did the BIR on this, did we not? And I think we had a large discussion dealing with all those matters on that day. So unless there's a further discussion, I'd move for third reading final vote using previous roll, as so long as I'm on the roll. Okay.
All right, any objection? Hearing none, so ordered.
Mr. Albritton, Mr. Williams.
Thirty ayes, 0 nays. Senate Bill 192 passes. Thank you, Senator Albritton.
Thank you, Mr. President. Thank the body.
All right, Senator Wagner.
Mr. President,
Senator Wagner.
have a report from the Committee on Rules.
All right, Secretary Reed received the report from the Committee on Rules.
From the Committee on Rules, Senate Resolution Number 51, Special Order Calendar. Be it resolved by the Senate that the following bills in the order named shall be the special paramount continuing order of business, taking precedence over all other matters until disposed of for the 14th legislative day only. On page 13, Senate Bill 103 by Senator Orr relating to the Ethics Commission. On page 18, Senate Bill 114 by Senator Kelly relating to building codes. On page 9, Senate Bill 115 by Senator Wagner relating to taxation and revenues. On page 20, House Bill 114 by Representative Woods relating to fiduciary funds held by counties. On page 5, Senate Bill 120 by Senator Coleman Madison relating to crimes. On page 24, Senate Bill 132 by Senator Smitherman relating to law enforcement. On page 6, Senate Bill 15 by Senator Shelnutt relating to motor vehicles. On page 12, House Bill number 66 by Representative Lovern relating to the retirement system. On page 13, Senate Bill 154 by Senator Barfoot relating to driver's license suspensions. On page 32, Senate Bill 166 by Senator Gavan relating to economic development and tourism. On page 29, Senate Bill 167 by Senator Carnley relating to health benefit plans. On page 26, House Bill 79 by Representative Rigsby relating to the Pharmacy Board. On page 33, Senate Bill 183 by Senator Gudger relating to labor and employment. On page 11, Senate Bill 189 relating to Medicaid by Senator Albritton. On page 27, Senate Bill 195 by Senator Butler relating to the Contract Review Committee. On page 25, House Bill 162 by Representative Oliver relating to the Medical Liability Act of 1996. On page 28, Senate Bill 207 by Senator Price relating to taxation. On page 8, Senate Bill 36 by Senator Elliott relating to competitive bidding. On page 21, Senate Bill 60 by Senator Weaver relating to the Board of Nursing. On page 20, House Bill 3 by Representative Hollis relating to motor vehicles. On page 28, House Bill 56 by Representative Hope Jones relating to the Board of Social Work Examiners. On page 19, Senate Bill number 67 by Senator Chambliss relating to the National Guard Education Assistance Program.
Mr. President,
Senator Wagner.
move the Senate adopt the report from the Committee on Rules.
All right, like to use previous roll?
Previous roll.
All right, any objection? Hearing none, so ordered.
Mr. Albritton, Mr. Williams.
30 ayes, 0 nays. The special order calendar is adopted. Secretary, call the first bill.
On page 13 of the calendar, Senate Bill 103 by Senator Orr relating to the Ethics Commission. BR pending.
Mr. President, I move the BIR using the previous roll.
All right, any objection? Hearing none, so ordered.
Mr. Albritton, Mr. Williams.
31 ayes, 0 nays. 31 ayes, 0 nays. The BR is adopted. Secretary, call the bill.
On page 13 of the calendar, Senate Bill 103 by Senator Orr relating to the Ethics Commission.
Hey, talk about the bill for just a second. You need to talk about it. Okay.
Senator Carnley.
Yeah, I just want to talk on it.
All right, you're recognized.
Thank you. Senator Orr is working on something there, and I told him I wanted to briefly mention some information about this, and appreciate the opportunity to speak on it.
Yeah, absolutely. You're recognized.
Yeah, I'm on.
We started your first hour.
Speak. I'm going to give it up to Senator Bell here in just a minute, but I understand that there's some issues with this.
Senator.
And he's going to bring
Yeah.
this. I'm going to yield my time back
All
to
right,
Senator
real
Orr.
quick, let me recognize a special guest of Senator Reed in the gallery, A. Lee Tucker, the judge of probate from Walker County. If you could please stand. Welcome to Alabama Senate. All right, Senator Orr.
Thank you, Mr. President. This is a bill that kind of arises out of the orientation where it became clear that the Ethics Commission did not have to provide exculpatory evidence to somebody that was being investigated for charge was brought forward to them. In committee, it came up, and I don't see her here, the gentle lady from Mobile asked about knowing the identity of the accuser. So this amendment would say, in the event of a finding by the Ethics Commission to proceed with some form of prosecution, that the name of the accuser could be revealed to the defendant. So I'd like to offer this amendment.
All right, Secretary Reed received the amendment.
Amendment to Senate Bill 103 by Senator Orr. Replace line 19 on page 1 with the following: Commission to provide an alleged violator with certain exculpatory. Replace lines 22 on page 1 through line 34, page 2 with the following:
All right, Senator Orr.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move adoption of the amendment using the previous roll.
All right, any objection? Hearing none, so ordered.
Mr. Albritton, Mr. Williams.
31 ayes, 0 nays. The Senator Orr amendment is adopted. Senator Orr.
Thank you, Mr. President. This time I'd move third reading using the previous roll.
All right, any objection? Hearing none, so ordered.
Mr. Albritton, Mr. Williams.
31 ayes, 0 nays. Senate Bill 103 passes amended. Thanks, Senator Orr. Secretary, call the next bill.
On page 18 of the calendar, Senate Bill number 114 by Senator Kelly relating to building codes. BIR pending.
Senator Kelly.
Move adoption of the BIR by previous row.
All right, any objection? Hearing none, so ordered.
Mr. Albritton, Mr. Williams.
31 ayes, 0 nays. The BR is adopted. Secretary, call the bill.
Mr. President.
On page 18 of the calendar, Senate Bill 114 by Senator Kelly relating to building codes.
All right, Senator Kelly.
Mr. President.
Thank you, Mr. President. This bill is for. You all right?
All right, Senator Kelly, you got the mic.
All right. Thank you, Mr. President. This bill is pretty restrictive, and it deals primarily with the reversionary tactic that is on deeds for access to veterans' buildings, and this is to protect veterans and help them, to give them time to raise funds to make the building compliant, and it primarily deals with basically one armory building, sir.
All right.
Mr. President,
Yeah, Senator Singleton.
would the gentleman entertain a question or two?
All right, Senator Kelly, you got the mic. You yield? All right, Senator Singleton.
So this bill is infrastructure bill based on these armories?
On armories that have a revisionary to go back in the deed to go back to a previous occupant. Yes, sir.
I'm looking at this bill. I'm almost afraid this bill is going to hurt my armory in my area. And I think I'm going to have to talk a little bit on this bill and make sure that I don't get hurt. Would you be willing to take a friendly amendment?
Depends on how friendly you are, sir.
I'm going to be real friendly. Man, I start my first hour, that's how friendly I'm going to get. No, I'm just kidding, Mr. President. I'm not. So tell me a little bit more. Let me understand a little bit more what you're trying to do here with this.
Yes, sir.
So in the bill on the American Legions and some things that affect our military, in a lot of those buildings, and when they were donated, they have a revisionary if their change of use changes, if it changes or the title changes. Some of these were owned by the National Guard and different things. And so that revisionary process kicks back into place. And so what happens in that a lot of times is then the building codes have to be changed to bring them up to a certain standard depending on what they're going to be used. And the old armory buildings, and this is primarily focused on just a couple of ones, it has to meet pretty stringent criteria. And this is so those veterans have enough time to raise money to put those changes in place.
Well, you know, I have at least 4 in my district that we have converted to community centers.
Yes, sir.
And in those community centers, so you're telling me the title when it switched from the Army, when they turn it over to the city, if the city is going to, doesn't matter whether it's a governmental entity or doesn't matter whether or not it's a 501c3 organization?
It depends on how the revisionary clause is in the deed. Chances are it didn't affect those buildings that you're referring to. It's only on a rare occasion.
So in some of those buildings, what you're telling me, there was a revisionary clause that will revert back to what its use would have been.
Yes, sir.
If it wasn't an Army, it could revert to something else.
Yes, sir.
And so what we want to do is to make sure we get clear title change and have that provision taken out.
We want to make sure that they have time to make the funds to take and the continued use of that building as it was intended in spite of that revisionary clause. So it gives enough time for them to accomplish that.
So why would they need the time anyway? I mean, what's the rush on it?
Because a lot of military organizations that are affected with and run by veterans, they have very little money. A lot of times they're not getting any substantial aid from the neighborhoods. And so what they do is they do fundraisers to raise money for them to continue to operate.
Okay, and so what does that have to do with the reversionary clause?
Because they still would have to bring the building up to code.
So bring the building up to code.
Yes, sir.
And raise some money.
Yes, sir.
And so I'm just still trying to get the time factor.
You raise the money to bring the building up to code for the use because the use changed just because the ownership changed.
I understand but once the ownership changed, if you give it over to me from the Army over to the public entity, then I can take all the time I want because now it's mine, isn't it?
Not exactly. It depends on that revisionary clause is my understanding. What this does, though, there's a time limit for that.
So there's a time limit on the clause?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so what you're trying to do is, let's say if it's 1 year on the reversionary clause in that contract or in that title when they first did this, so that means that you're trying to actually, what you're trying to extend the time to?
What we're trying to do in this, it gives them up to 10 years, a maximum
10 years.
And that's to give them time to raise the money to convert the building sprinkler system, so on and so forth.
So if they don't do it within 10 years, what happens to the building?
The building would revert back to the previous owner.
Revert back to the Army?
Well, it would revert back to whatever the revisionary clause, whoever that entity is.
Whoever that entity is.
Yes, sir.
Usually it's only one or two parties. If it was the military, it's probably nobody but the Army and or the city that's involved in this. Because the ones I've seen in all of the 4 that I've gone through that I know of, there's only, one on title. So that building, unless it was something that the military came in and rented. Mm-hmm. For the Army. But most of them were built by the military originally in the beginning. They may have held them for so long, went out and built a new one. So this is an old building that's sitting there. Now the city comes along. They said, we'll give you this here for $10,000. So the city pays the $10,000, and once the $10,000 and the title's turned back to the city, then now it belongs to the city, and they could have as much time as they want to.
Yeah, that would be true if it was the city. Most of the time, you're talking about organizations such as American Legion.
So that's a difference in the public entity in a 501c3 or C4, whatever those organizations may be,
yes,
to
sir.
make themselves a public-private partnership here, right?
That's exactly correct.
Okay, all right. Well, I'm going to be convinced that you passed your test this time. You all right.
Well, I appreciate that. May I address something with you? When I was but a wee child and sitting on my grandmother's knee, she told me and read me stories about the Alabama Senate and the illustrious Senator Singleton. And I heard those stories all those times. And
you were sitting on your grandmama's knee?
What? Actually, it
And
was,
she told you about me?
yes, sir. Actually, it was my Meemaw. And what Meemaw says, you know, is very important to me, and I trust everything my Meemaw says.
I'm not Jabbo.
And she told me, well, you know, I'm not saying you had a little work done or anything like that, and I also have my hair cut so that I could resemble you. You are my mentor. And when I grow up, I want to be just like Senator Singleton, because that's what Meemaw says a senator's supposed to do.
I love it. You got me today. You're the first one that got me. Mr. President, I'm going to move to pass this bill forward.
All right. Would you like to use previous role?
Use the previous roll.
All right. Any objection? Hearing none, so ordered.
Mr. Albritton, Mr. Williams.
32 ayes, 0 nays. Senate Bill 114 passed. I believe that's your first bill, right, Senator Kelly?
Yes, sir.
All right. Congratulations, Senator Kelly.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Absolutely. All right. Secretary, call the next bill.
On page 9 of the calendar, Senate Bill number 115 by Senator Wagner relating to taxation and revenue. BIR pending.
Mr. President,
Senator Wagner.
move adoption of the BIR
All right. Would you like to use previous role?
using previous roll.
All right. Any objection? Hearing none, so ordered.
Mr. Albritton, Mr. Williams.
32 ayes, 0 nays. The BR is adopted. Secretary, call the bill.
On page 9 of the calendar, Senate Bill number 115 by Senator Wagner relating to taxation and revenue.
Mr. President,
Senator Wagner.
this bill is really a name change to the March of Dime from the previous name, National Foundation. So I move that, give the bill a favorable report using the previous roll.
All right. Any objection? Hearing none, so ordered.
Mr. Albritton, Mr. Williams.
32 ayes, 0 nays. Senate Bill 115 passes. Thanks, Senator Wagner. Secretary, call the next bill.
On page 20 of the calendar, House Bill number 114 by Representative Woods relating to fiduciary funds held by counties. BIR pending.
Mr. President, this bill is fiduciary funds held by the counties. And after the counties hold it for 5 years, it's basically submitted to the county treasurer. They hold it indefinite. After 10 years, they hold it indefinite. This allows the counties to spend the money in bridges and road maintenance. Motion for adopt the BR.
All right. Would you like to use previous role?
Yes, sir.
All right. Any objection? Hearing none, so ordered.
Mr. Albritton, Mr. Williams.
32 ayes, 0 nays. The BR is adopted. Secretary, call the bill.
On page 20 of the calendar, House Bill number 114 by Representative Woods relating to fiduciary funds held by counties.
Mr. President, motion.
Senator Bell.
Motion to adopt the final passage.
All right. Would you like to use previous role?
Yes, sir.
All right. Any objection? Hearing none, so ordered.
Mr. Albritton, Mr. Williams.
32 ayes, 0 nays. House Bill 114 passes. Thanks, Senator Bell.
May I have personal privilege?
Yeah, you're recognized.
I'd like to thank Representative Woods. I think that's his first bill to make it all the way through as a freshman. So I'd like to congratulate him on his first bill.
Hey, Representative Woods, congratulations on your first bill. We're all glad that you're a lot better legislator than you are softball player. So with that, Secretary, call the next bill.
On page 5 of the calendar, Senate Bill number 120 by Senator Coleman Madison relating to crimes. BIR pending.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to move the BIR using previous role.
All right. Any objection? Hearing none, so ordered.
Mr. Albritton, Mr. Williams.
32 ayes. 32 ayes, 0 nays. The BR is adopted. Secretary, call the bill.
On page 5 of the calendar, Senate Bill number 120 by Senator Coleman Madison relating to crimes.
Senator Coleman Madison.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Briefly, we've discussed this before. This is a bill called for by our DYS, Department of Youth Services, and basically what it is intended to do is to offer some type of penalties for those people who bring in contraband. And Senator Singleton has an amendment to make it more.
All right, Senator Singleton. All right, Secretary, read and receive the amendment.
Amendment to Senate Bill number 120 by Senator Singleton. Replace lines 158 through 159 on page 6 with the following. Fund of the Department, Section 2, notwithstanding Section 13A 1036, 13A 1037, or 13A 1038 Code of Alabama, no juvenile who is confined in a detention facility shall be guilty of promoting prison contraband. Replace line 165 on page 6 with the following. Section 4, this act shall become effective on the 1st.
Mr. President,
All right, Senator Singleton.
move for adoption of the amendment, use of previous rule without objection.
All right, any objection? Hearing none, so ordered.
Mr. Albritton, Mr. Williams,
32 ayes, 0 nays. The Senator Singleton amendment's adopted.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Senator Singleton. Senator Coleman Madison.
Mr. Chair, I want to thank Senator Singleton for bringing the amendment, and now, if there are no further questions, I'd like to move the bill as amended using previous roll.
All right, any objection? Hearing none, so ordered.
Mr. Albritton, Mr. Williams,
32 ayes, 0 nays. Senate Bill 120 passes amended. Thanks, Senator Coleman Madison.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Secretary, call the next bill.
On page 24 of the calendar, Senate Bill number 132 by Senator Smitherman relating to law enforcement, BR pending.
Mr. President,
Yeah, Senator, you're recognized.
I'd like to move for passing of the BIR and ask unanimous consent to use previous roll.
All right, any objection? Hearing none, so ordered.
Mr. Albritton, Mr. Williams,
32 ayes, 0 nays. The BR is adopted. Secretary, call the bill.
on page 24 of the calendar, Senate Bill number 132 by Senator Smitherman relating to law enforcement.
Mr. President, this bill is designed to expand the missing and endangered person alert to include individuals who have been abducted and to make non-substantive technical revisions to update the existing code language to the current style. If there's no questions, I'll move for final passage. Unanimous consent to use the previous roll.
All right, any objection? Hearing none, so ordered.
Mr. Albritton, Mr. Williams.
32 ayes, 0 nays. Senate Bill 132 passes.
Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you,
Senator
members.
Smitherman. All right, Secretary, call the next bill.
On page 6 of the calendar, Senate Bill number 15 by Senator Shelnut relating to motor vehicles, BIR pending.
Mr. President, I move for passage of the BIR using previous roll, if no objection.
All right, any objection? Hearing none, so ordered.
Mr. Albritton, Mr. Williams.
32 ayes, 0 nays. The BR is adopted. Secretary, call the bill.
On page 6 of the calendar, Senate Bill number 15 by Senator Shelnut relating to motor vehicles.
Senator Shelnut.
Mr. President, give a brief explanation of SB 15. This deals with motor vehicle value protection agreements. Under existing law, motor vehicle value protection agreements are authorized in motor vehicle consumer credit financing transactions. The provider of the motor vehicle value protection agreement is required to ensure the agreement under an insurance policy meets certain financial requirements. This bill just clarifies that. And this bill passed out of BNI 16-0. It's already passed the House 101-0. So I don't see any colleagues with any questions. So move for final passage of SB 15 using previous roll if no objection.
All right, any objection? Hearing none, so ordered.
Mr. Albritton, Mr. Williams.
32 ayes, no nays.
32 ayes, 0 nays. Senate Bill 15 passes. Thanks, Senator Shelnut. Secretary, call the next bill.
On page 12 of the calendar, House Bill number 66 by Representative Lovern relating to the retirement system, BIR pending.
Mr. President.
Senator, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move adoption of the BR using previous roll without objection.
All right, any objection? Hearing none, so ordered.
Mr. Albritton, Mr. Williams.
32 ayes, 0 nays. The BR is adopted. Secretary, call the bill.
On page 12 of the calendar, House Bill number 66 by Representative Lovern relating to the retirement system.
Mr. President.
Senator Jones.
Thank you, Mr. President. This bill has to do with purchasing hazardous duty time by our firefighters in terms of retirement system. There are no other questions at this point. I would move for final passage using previous rule.
All right, any objection? Hearing none, so ordered.
Mr. Albritton, Mr. Williams.
32 ayes, 0 nays. House Bill 66 passes. Thanks, Senator Jones. Secretary, call the next bill.
On page 13 of the calendar, Senate Bill number 154 by Senator Barfoot relating to driver's license suspensions. BR pending.
All right, Senator Barfoot.
Mr. President, move for adoption of the BR using previous rule.
All right, any objection? Hearing none, so ordered.
Mr. Albritton, Mr. Williams.
32 ayes, 0 nays. The BR is adopted. Secretary, call the bill.
On page 13 of the calendar, Senate Bill number 154 by Senator Barfoot relating to driver's license suspension. Committee amendment pending.
Senator Barfoot.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'm sorry, I'm a little disheveled here. I'm trying to get my paperwork in order. This is a bill relating to driver's license suspensions, and it's a bill that, in essence, we passed last year. All court costs, fines have to be paid. It's just that we give a little grace when it comes to a post-adjudication review if somebody misses that. So with that being said, I'd move for final passage of SB 154.
All right, would you like to use, we're on the committee amendment. I know you're a little disheveled. Are you organized now?
I'm a little disheveled. I told you that, and I'm trying to be organized. Sorry, Mr. President. If I move for adoption of the committee amendment.
All right, using previous rule?
Yes, sir.
All right, any objection? Hearing none, so ordered.
Mr. Albritton, Mr. Williams.
32 ayes, 0 nays. The committee amendment's adopted. All right, Senator Barfoot.
Thank you, Mr. President. I see my colleague over there has probably got a question.
Okay, Senator Melson.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mr. President. I just have a couple of questions. This is the bill that if you hadn't paid your fines and your whatever, you miss a payment, that you can still go to work. Is that correct? I'm sorry, I don't know what this.
Yeah, so does three things. First of all, it only deals with post-adjudication matters. So if you get a traffic citation and you don't show up for court on your initial appearance or the trial date, your license can still be suspended. It touches nothing pre-adjudication, all right? So post-adjudication, Senator Melson, you get a ticket, which may be prone to do from time to time. I don't know.
Just stick to the subject, sir.
You appear in court, plead guilty or found guilty. The court puts you on a payment plan, for instance, to pay that court cost and fines. If you miss one post-adjudication review, there can still be a warrant for your arrest. Current law allows for that, and there still can be now. It's just that your license won't be suspended after you miss, or if you've only missed one post-adjudication review. Now, if you miss two post-adjudication reviews, then the law still will allow your license to be suspended. Second thing it does, on that payment plan that you as the hypothetical are on, if you miss a number of tickets or number of payments on that payment plan, the court can bring you back in still under existing law and under, if this bill passes and becomes law, court can bring you back in and say, Senator Melson, you've missed a payment on your payment plan, and have a contempt hearing, and it can actually lock you up for up to 5 days still. So there is that punishment still available. This bill would just simply say if you missed less than 6 payments, that the court could not suspend your driver's license. More than 6, they could still suspend your.
Is it restricted though? So like they can just go to work, or they can go?
Nope,
they can go to anything.
It's a suspension or not.
Ball field.
Once they're suspended, then current law would provide for where or when or how they could use it. There's a hardship affidavit already in place that they could ask to be granted a hardship affidavit.
So it's not restricted at all. You can still do whatever.
You can still do whatever because your license hasn't been suspended under these 2 changes.
And I just wonder why there wasn't going to be any restriction, but I just trust you to have the best bill. So thank you, sir.
Thank you. I'm going to count on you.
Thanks, Senator Melson. All right, Senator Barfoot.
With that being said, Mr. President, I'd move for final passage of SB 154 using previous role.
All right, any objection? Hearing none, so ordered.
Mr. Albritton, Mr. Williams.
32 ayes, 0 nays. Senate Bill 154 passes as amended. Thanks, Senator Barfoot. Secretary, call the next bill.
On page 32 of the calendar, Senate Bill number 166 by Senator Gavan relating to economic development. BR pending.
Senator Gavan.
Thank you, Mr. President. So I would like to move the BR using previous role, if there's no objection.
All right, any objection? Hearing none, so ordered.
Mr. Albritton, Mr. Williams.
32 ayes, 0 nays. The BR is adopted. Secretary, call the bill.
I think Senator Barfoot misused word disheveled.
Hold on one second. Let me let him read it in the bill.
On page 32 of the calendar, Senate Bill 166 by Senator Gavan relating to economic development and tourism.
All right. Sorry about that. Go ahead.
I was going to say, I think Senator Barfoot misused disheveled. He should have been talking about me or maybe another senator using that word, but discombobulated might be a better term, and that's where I am a little bit. And I hate that everything is moving so quickly, but I've had an objection come up on this, and I need to get an amendment up, and I'm hoping I can bring it up a little bit later. But if there's no objection, I'd like to carry this over to call of the chair.
All right. Any objection? Hearing none, so ordered. Secretary, carry over Senate Bill 166 at call of the chair, please. Secretary, call the next bill.
On page 29 of the calendar, Senate Bill number 167 by Senator Carnley relating to health benefit plans. BR pending.
All right, Senator Carnley.
President, I move for BIR using previous role.
All right. Let me let the screen go. All right. Any objection? Hearing none, so ordered.
Mr. President, I have a substitute.
Hold on one second. Let me let them.
Mr. Albritton, Mr. Williams.
32 ayes, no nays.
All right. 32 ayes, 0 nays. The BR is adopted. Secretary, call the bill.
On page 28 of the calendar, Senate Bill number 167 by Senator Carnley relating to health benefit plans.
All right, Senator Carnley.
Mr. President, I have a substitute.
All right, Secretary. All right, read and receive the substitute, please.
Substitute for Senate Bill number 167 by Senator Carnley.
All right, Senator Carnley.
Yes, sir. We had a group come to us and asked to introduce a little more on this to provide more protection to the consumer. And so we did that and would like to ask for a motion to pass substitute bill using previous role.
Okay. Any objection? Hearing none, so ordered.
Mr. Albritton, Mr. Williams.
32 ayes, no nays.
All right, 32 ayes, 0 nays. The substitute's adopted. Now we're on final passage.
I move for final passage using previous role.
All right, any objection? Hearing none, so ordered.
Thank you.
Mr. Albritton, Mr. Williams.
32 ayes, no nays.
32 ayes, 0 nays. Senate Bill 167 passes. Thanks, Senator Carnley.
Thank you.
Secretary, call the next bill.
On page 26 of the calendar, House Bill number 79 by Representative Rigsby relating to the Pharmacy Board. BR pending.
Senator, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. President. House Bill 79 by Representative Rigsby just essentially says that any permit holder with a board of pharmacy must designate a contact person for the board. Move adoption of BIR previous role.
All right, any objection? Hearing none, so ordered.
Mr. Albritton, Mr. Williams.
32 ayes, 0 nays. The BR is adopted. Secretary, call the bill.
On page 26 of the calendar, House Bill number 79 by Representative Rigsby relating to the Pharmacy Board.
Mr. President, I move third reading, use previous role.
All right, any objection? Hearing none, so ordered.
Mr. Albritton, Mr. Williams.
32 ayes, 0 nays. House Bill 79 passes. Thanks, Senator Butler. Secretary, call the next bill.
On page 33 of the calendar, Senate Bill number 183 by Senator Gudger relating to labor and employment. BR pending.
All right, Senator Gudger.
Thank you, Mr. President. Appreciate being recognized. To begin with, I'd like to make a motion to pass the BIR using previous roll without objection.
All right, any objection? Hearing none, so ordered.
Mr. Albritton, Mr. Williams.
Pappas.
32 ayes, 0 nays. The BR is adopted. Secretary, call the bill.
Same one.
On page 33 of the calendar, Senate Bill number 183 by Senator Gudger relating to labor and employment.
All right, Senator Gudger.
I'd like to offer a floor amendment for this particular bill.
Secretary, read and receive the amendment, please.
Amendment to Senate Bill number 183 by Senator Gudger. Replace line 33 on page 2 with the following. Considered when determining an individual's status as an.
All right, Senator Gudger.
I'd like to make final passage of that using previous roll without objection.
All right, any objection? Hearing none, so ordered.
Mr. Albritton, Mr. Williams.
32 ayes, 0 nays. 32 ayes, 0 nays. The Senator Gudger amendment's adopted. All right, Senator Gudger.
I'd like to make final passage with the bill amended using previous roll without objection.
All right, any objection? Hearing none, so ordered.
Mr. Albritton, Mr. Williams.
32 ayes, 0 nays. 32 ayes, 0 nays. Senate Bill 183 passes amended. Thanks, Senator Gudger.
Thank you, Mr. President.
All right, Secretary, call the next bill.
On page 11 of the calendar, Senate Bill number 189 by Senator Albritton relating to Medicaid, BR pending.
All right, Senator Albritton.
Move for passage of BIR using previous roll without objection.
All right, any objection? Hearing none, so ordered.
Mr. Albritton, Mr. Williams.
32 ayes, 0 nays. The BR is adopted. Secretary, call the bill.
On page 11 of the calendar, Senate Bill number 189 by Senator Albritton relating to Medicaid.
Mr. President.
Senator Albritton.
This is an agency bill that's been brought forward as a fairly standard revising some of the fees and such for the reimbursement rates for nursing home facilities. I'd entertain any questions now if they have any. And if not any questions, I'd move for final passage using previous roll without objection.
All right, any objection? Hearing none, so ordered.
Mr. Albritton, Mr. Williams.
32 ayes, 0 nays. Senate Bill 189 passes. Thanks, Senator Albritton.
Thank you, Mr. President.
All right, Secretary, call the next bill.
On page 27 of the calendar, Senate Bill number 195 by Senator Butler relating to the Contract Review Committee, BIR pending.
Senator Butler.
Mr. President, I move adoption of BIR using previous roll.
All right, any objection? Hearing none, so ordered.
Mr. Albritton, Mr. Williams.
32 ayes, 0 nays. The BR is adopted. Secretary, call the bill.
On page 27 of the calendar, Senate Bill number 195 by Senator Butler relating to the Contract Review Committee.
Senator Butler.
Mr. President, this bill just adds 2 members to the Contract Review Committee, 1 from the House, 1 from the Senate. Me to move adoption of BIR, previous roll.
All right, any objection? Hearing none, so ordered.
Mr. Albritton, Mr. Williams.
32 ayes, 0 nays. 32 ayes, 0 nays. Senate Bill 195 passes. Thanks, Senator Butler.
Mr. President, I move third reading using previous roll.
It's fine. It's passed. Senator Butler. All right. Thank you, Senator Butler. Secretary, call the next bill.
On page 25 of the calendar, House Bill number 162 by Representative Oliver relating to the Medical Liability Act of 1996, BIR pending.
Senator Van.
Thank you, Mr. President. I would move the BIR using previous roll. There's no objection.
All right. Any objection? Hearing none, so ordered.
Mr. Albritton, Mr. Williams.
32 ayes, 0 nays. The BR is adopted. Secretary, call the bill.
On page 25 of the calendar, House Bill number 162 by Representative Oliver relating to the Medical Liability Act of 1996.
All right, Senator Graham.
This is the House version of the bill that I carried in the Senate that we've already passed. And so since we've already passed that, I think unanimously I would move for a final passage using previous roll without objection.
All right, any objection? Hearing none, so ordered.
Mr. Albritton, Mr. Williams.
32 ayes.
All right, 32 ayes, 0 nays. House Bill 162 passed.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Hey, thanks, Senator Graham. Secretary, call next bill.
On page 28 of the calendar, Senate Bill number 207 by Senator Price relating to taxation, BIR pending.
Mr. President, I'd like to pass the BIR previous roll, please.
All right, any objection? Hearing none, so ordered.
Mr. Albritton, Mr. Williams.
32 ayes.
32 ayes, 0 nays. The BR is adopted. Secretary, call the bill.
On page 28 of the calendar, Senate Bill number 207 by Senator Price relating to taxation.
Mr. President, this is a bill to where people could use as far as refunds that they may have coming to them from the state of Alabama, and they could check the box and actually donate it to our state parks. I ask to use the final roll, please. Final passage.
All right, using previous roll.
Previous roll.
Any objection? Hearing none, so ordered.
Mr. Albritton, Mr. Williams.
32 ayes, no nays.
32 ayes, 0 nays. Senate Bill 207 passes. Thanks, Senator Price. Secretary, call the next bill.
On page 8 of the calendar, Senate Bill number 36 by Senator Elliott relating to competitive bidding, BIR pending.
Senator Elliott.
Thank you, Mr. President. Move BIR using previous roll without objection.
All right, any objection? Hearing none, so ordered.
Mr. Albritton, Mr. Williams.
32 ayes, no nays.
32 ayes, 0 nays. The BR is adopted. Secretary, call the bill.
On page 8 of the calendar, Senate Bill number 36 by Senator Elliott relating to competitive bidding.
Mr. President.
Senator Elliott.
This bill deals with the competitive bid law for boards of education. It takes the limit from $15,000 to $25,000. And I believe my colleague has a friendly amendment. I'd like to yield to him at this time.
All right, Senator Roberts.
Mr. President, I've got an amendment.
All right, Secretary, read and receive the amendment.
Amendment to Senate Bill 36 by Senator Roberts. Replace line 125 on page 5 with the following.
The point of this bill, it's a friendly amendment, just allows for a CPI multiplier to go on this amount, so we're not doing this again in a few years for the competitive bid number itself. So with that, I'd like to move for passage of this amendment.
All right, would you like to use previous roll? All right. Any objection? Hearing none, so ordered.
Mr. Albritton, Mr. Williams.
32 ayes, no nays.
32 ayes, 0 nays. The Senator Roberts amendment is adopted.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Thanks, Senator Roberts. All right, Senator Elliott.
Move final passage of SB 36 as amended.
All right, any objection? Hearing none, so ordered.
Mr. Albritton, Mr. Williams.
32 ayes, no nays.
32 ayes, 0 nays. Senate Bill 36 passes as amended.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Thanks, Senator Elliott. All right, I'd like to recognize a special guest in the gallery, the guest of Senator Lance Bell, Jason Goodgame. If you could please stand. Welcome to the Alabama Senate. All right, Secretary, call the next bill.
On page 21 of the calendar, Senate Bill number 60 by Senator Weaver relating to the Board of Nursing, BIR pending.
Senator Weaver.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'd like to move the BIR using previous roll with no objection.
All right, any objection? Hearing none, so ordered.
Okay, we had
Mr. Albritton, Mr. Williams.
32 ayes, 0 nays. The BR is adopted. Secretary, call the bill.
So there was a, okay.
On page 21 of the calendar, Senate Bill number 60 by Senator Weaver relating to the Board of Nursing, committee substitute pending.
All right, Senator Weaver.
Yes, I would like to adopt the substitute from the committee. Using previous rule, no objections.
Okay. Any objection? Hearing none, so ordered.
Mr. Albritton. Mr. Williams.
32 ayes.
32 ayes, 0 nays. The committee substitute's adopted. All right, Senator Weaver.
Like to move final passage using previous rule, no objection.
All right, any objection? Hearing none, so ordered.
Mr. Albritton. Mr. Williams.
32 ayes, 0 nays. Senate Bill 60 passes. Thanks, Senator Weaver.
Thank you.
Secretary, call the next bill.
On page 20 of the calendar, House Bill number 3 by Representative Hollis relating to motor vehicles. BR pending.
Mr. President.
Senator Singleton.
Mr. President, I come today to stand with this bill. Normally, Senator Figurs would be handling this bill, so I got a phone call from her that she wanted me to relay the message that she's not here today because she's at the White House. And she's handling some business for the state of Alabama, and that she just wanted to know that she wasn't out tardying today. I forget the name of the bill that she was up there working on, but at the end of the day, I'm doing my duty. She told me to announce that today. And so I'll move on with the bill, use the previous rule without objection, Mr.
All right, any objection? Hearing none, so ordered.
Mr. Albritton. Mr. Williams.
32 ayes, 0 nays. The BR is adopted. Secretary, call the bill.
On page 20 of the calendar, House Bill number 3 by Representative Hollis relating to motor vehicles.
Mr. President, this is a good bill. This bill addresses the vaping for our underage vapors, and what this does is does not allow for adults to even vape in the car with 14 years of age and under. Vaping or smoking tobacco products with that, Mr. President, used for third reading, dispense with the use of previous rule without objection.
All right, any objection? Hearing none, so ordered.
Mr. Albritton. Mr. Williams.
Thirty ayes, 0 nays, 1 abstention. House Bill 3 passes.
Thank you, Mr.
Senator
President.
Singleton.
On behalf of Senator Figurs, thank you.
All right, Representative Hollis, congratulations. Secretary, call the next bill.
On page 28 of the calendar, House Bill number 56 by Representative Holt Jones relating to the Board of Social Work Examiners. BR pending.
All right, Senator Elliott. Oh, I'm sorry. Senator Coleman Madison.
Yeah, I don't think I was in that.
Sorry, I just saw him at the mic.
That's okay. Move the BR. He doesn't even look like Senator Allen. Move the BR using previous role.
All right, any objection? Hearing none, so ordered.
Mr. Albritton. Mr. Williams.
32 ayes. 32 ayes, 0 nays. The BR is adopted. Secretary, call the bill.
On page 28 of the calendar, House Bill number 56 by Representative Holt Jones relating to the Board of Social Work Examiners.
All right, Senator Coleman Madison.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. It gives me great pleasure to present this bill. This is the same bill that we passed out for social work. As you know, social workers is a limited numbers here in our state. It is something that will expand their ability to work in their own field in areas that they have been certified. And of course, in every area that we find, whether it's medical or police enforcing the mental health issues, schools, everywhere we need social workers. And so Representative Holt Jones and I sponsored this bill. She in the House and I in the Senate, and she's here on the floor with hers. And I think this is her first bill, so we're glad to have her. So I would yield to Senator Barfoot if he has some questions, sir.
All right, Senator Barfoot.
Thank you, Mr. President. I just want to tell Representative Holt Jones, Senator Coleman Madison, I'm very supportive of the bill. My aunt, who passed away a couple years ago, is in the Social Work Hall of Fame. She got her doctorate degree from the University of Alabama and worked at Cabot with veterans. And you're correct. There is a huge need for social workers, from geriatric to veterans in our schools to dealing with children in crisis. My second oldest daughter is a couple weeks away from receiving her master's degree in social work from Auburn University. And so it's a profession that I think you have to have a love what
yeah.
you do.
Yeah.
And I just want to tell you, I'm appreciative and thank y'all for bringing this bill.
Thank you so much, and thank you, members. With that, Mr. Chair, I'd like to move final passage. Senator Roberts has a comment.
All right, Senator Roberts.
Mr. President, I too wanted to just echo gratefulness to Senator Coleman Madison and congratulate Representative Hope Jones on her first bill all the way through the legislature. Congratulations. We applaud you and thank you for working with our fine gentlewoman across the aisle here. Thank you.
All right, Senator Coleman Madison.
Mr. Chair, is what you call working across the aisle communication and collaboration. With that, I would like to move final passage using previous rule.
All right, any objection? Hearing none, so ordered.
Mr. Albritton. Mr. Williams.
32 ayes, 0 nays. House Bill 56 passes. Thank you, Senator Coleman Madison, and congratulations, Representative Holt Jones. Secretary, call the next bill.
On page 19 of the calendar, Senate Bill number 67 by Senator Chambliss relating to the National Guard Education Assistance Program. BR pending.
Mr. President, I move the BIR using the previous role.
All right, any objection? Hearing none, so ordered.
Mr. Albritton. Mr. Williams.
32 ayes.
32 ayes, 0 nays. The BR is adopted. Secretary, call the bill.
On page 19 of the calendar, Senate Bill number 67 by Senator Chambliss relating to the National Guard Education Assistance Program.
Mr. President, this is a bill dealing with the National Guard and education assistance and extends the reimbursement for dual enrollment, among other things. I see my colleague may have with that, Mr. President, I'd move final passage using the previous role.
All right, any objection? Hearing none, so ordered.
Mr. Albritton. Mr. Williams.
Thirty-two ayes, 0 nays. Senate Bill 67 passes. Thanks, Senator Chambliss. All right, Senator Orr.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'd like unanimous consent to introduce a resolution that's commendatory.
All right, any objection? Hearing none, so ordered. Secretary, read and receive the resolution.
Senate Joint Resolution number 52 by Senator Orr honoring Dr. Michael Douglas as the 2023 Blue Ribbon Schools of Excellence Superintendent of the Year.
Move for all senators to be added as co-sponsors and unanimous and immediate consideration.
All right, any objection for all senators being added as co-sponsor? Hearing none, so ordered. And then next motion was final passage. Any objection? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Resolution is adopted. Thanks, Senator Orr. All right. And that concludes our calendar. Senator Reed.
Mr. President.
Senator Reed.
Thank you, Mr. President. Ladies and gentlemen, I said we were going to have a good day, and we've had one. So thank you for your hard work and your diligence. We've accomplished quite a bit today with some good legislation. We also got to have an opportunity to honor our friend Jabba Wagner today, and so we appreciate that very much. He's having a little gathering tomorrow evening, so everybody will want to be a participant there. But with that, Mr. President, I want to make a motion that we leave the journal open for introduction of bills, House messages until 5 p.m., and that we adjourn until 8:45 a.m. on Thursday. And let me offer an explanation there. We're going to have a special guest from the nation of Israel that are going to be with us. Also, someone that very much is interested in Alabama's relationship with the nation of Israel is Auburn basketball coach Bruce Pearl. And so Coach Pearl is going to be here with us, as well as these representatives from the nation of Israel. And so that's the reason that we're going to be here a little bit early on Thursday at 8:45 a.m. That's my motion, Mr. President.
All right, you heard the motion. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? We stand adjourned.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Thanks, Senator Reed.